Christ is born.
Christmas is fast approaching, and today we encounter Mary and Joseph as they arrive in Bethlehem. As our Holy Father wrote, the figure of Mary makes us reflect on the great mystery that surrounded this young woman when God knocked on the door of her Immaculate Heart. Mary responded in complete obedience to the message of the angel, who asked her to become the Mother of God. Her words, "Behold, I am the handmaid of the Lord. Let it be to me according to your word," show all of us how to abandon ourselves in faith to God's will. These are apt words for these pandemic days. Mary can show us all how to trust in God's will with faith and confidence. Whether you or a loved one are suffering from the health effects of COVID-19, or are trying to weather the economic impact of the pandemic, or whether you're worried about your kids' lives being turned upside down, or your elderly relatives, we're all experiencing a lot of uncertainty these days. Recently, one of our resident priests referred to the pandemic as the adventure of living one day at a time. It's great he can look at it as an adventure, but it's really unsettling, isn't it? Let's ask Mary to help us abandon ourselves to God's providence as she did. Now let's turn to Joseph. At Mary's side, shown protecting the child and his mother, stands Saint Joseph, our Holy Father wrote. Saint Joseph plays an important role in the life of Jesus and Mary. He is the guardian who tirelessly protects his family. From his very first homily as Pope, Francis has talked about Saint Joseph as the great protector. Just as he took loving care of Jesus and Mary, he also watches over and protects Christ's mystical body, the Church. But how does Joseph exercise his role as protector? The Holy Father once asked. Discreetly, humbly, and silently, but with an unfailing presence and utter fidelity, even when he finds it hard to understand. From the time of his betrothal to Mary until the finding of the 12-year-old Jesus in the temple, he is there at every moment with loving care. As the spouse of Mary, he is at her side in good times and bad, on the journey to Jerusalem for the census, and in the anxious and joyful hours when she gave birth, amid the drama of the flight into Egypt, and during the frantic search for their child in the temple, and later in the day-to-day life in the home of Nazareth, in the workshop where he taught his trade to Jesus. As you look to Joseph in your nativity scene this Christmas, may you be assured that he is watching over you and protecting you and your family, especially in these tough days and weeks. And may Joseph inspire you to be a protector in his image, as Pope Francis explains. Being a protector means respecting each of God's creatures and respecting the environment in which we live. It means protecting people, showing loving concern for each and every person, especially children, the elderly, those in need, who are often the last we think about. It means caring for one another in families. Husbands and wives first protect one another, and then as parents, they care for their children. And children themselves, in time, protect their parents. It means building sincere friendships in which we protect one another in trust, respect, and goodness. In the end, everything has been entrusted to our protection, and all of us are responsible for it. So as we continue to prepare for Christmas, let's reflect on how we can be protectors after the example of Saint Joseph by showing concern and tenderness toward those who are closest to us. And let's reflect on how we can imitate Mary in her trust in God's plan.
Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born.